I try to take too much power out of this power supply. Okay. Well, what keeps the power supply from burning out? The fuse. The fuse says, I'm only going to let so much current flow through here, and if you try to draw more current, that piece of wire just burns off. And that's the fuse is burned out. And then you have to figure out what you did wrong, but then of course you can change the fuse, which is okay. So the fuse is used to protect the circuits from overloads, because if these circuits get overloaded, they can burn up, and that's the bad thing. Okay? Okay. So, a little about batteries. Very little to memorize here, but I gave you a lot of information. There's lots of different kinds of batteries. Alkalines, carbon zinc, lead acid, nickel cadmium, lithium ion, nickel metal hydride. So here's the alkaline battery. So when we buy it stored, when it's dead, we throw it away. Okay, but the lithium ion offers the longest life. Now, I put the words in here, assuming the same size. If you want to compare battery C, you have to have batteries that are all the same physical size, then you can do a test. But the lithium ion, that's the longest. People who are making things that are batteries, whether your phones or something else, they're using lithium ion. But here's all the questions they want you to know. Carbon zinc is not rechargeable. Okay, carbon zinc is not rechargeable, and neither is the alkaline. Okay? And a fully charged nickel cadmium, here, puts out 1.2 volts. Okay, memorize the answer. Okay? And for whatever it's worth, there's the symbol for a battery. Wow, that was nice and quick. Let's go to 16. Okay, remember we said there was the resistance was measured in ohms. Okay, ohms. Well, it turns out that there was a guy by the name of Ohm, and he decided to figure out how that voltage and how that current and how that resistance relate to each other. And he figured it out. There it is. And you're probably all into formulas. So if you take the current in amps and the resistance in ohms, you multiply them together, you get the voltage E. Okay, bingo, there it is. So Ohm's law is a formula defining the relation between the voltage, current, and resistance. So memorize the formula. Okay. And so some of these questions simply say, if I give you a half an amp and 2 ohms, what do I have? Well, 2 times a half is 1 volt. If I give you 1 amp and 10 ohms, what do I have? 10 volts. 2 amps and 10 ohms, 20 volts. So there's the circuit, there's the voltage, there's the current, there's the resistance, bingo. Now you want to know what that circle's all about, so I'll tell you. The lady took my class once, and she's not into formulas. She simply doesn't relate to formulas. So she drew this circle and she put this up here. Now, what she would do is she would cover up what she's looking for. So if she's looking for E, she would cover up E. Oh, it's I times R. If she's looking for I, she would cover up I. Oh, it's E times E divided by R. So this was her way of transposing the formula without memorizing the formula, okay? That's what the circle's up here for. You don't have to do that because you guys are good. So now let's just change it. Now they're going to give us E and R, ask us what I is, right? Here it is. If I want to know what I is, it's E divided by R. Well, let's see, 120 volts divided by 80, I get 1.5 amps, okay. 200 volts divided by 100 amps, 100 ohms, 2 amps, yep. 224 volts divided by 24 ohms, 10 amps, perfect. So these are straightforward for you guys. Now, here's the good news. They're easy for you guys to do. But you notice they're all coming from the same subsection, D, 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 D. Only one of these is going to be on your test. So, okay. And then they're going to do one more thing. They're going to say, if I give you E and I, what's R? So here's the 90 divided by 3, 30. 12 divided by 1.5, 8. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So just memorize the one formula. You know how to transpose it. You got it. You won't need a calculator in the exam to do this. I think you guys can do this on your head or on a piece of paper. Now, if you do bring a calculator to the test, they're going to want to know that that calculator is only a calculator, not a cell phone that lets you go online and look up the answer to the question. Okay? They're very, very serious about that. So watch out for him. See, if he'll bring a cell phone, he'll be looking up all the answers. He's going to be doing it, okay? Okay, let's go. Now, but when we go down to the local store and we buy a light bulb, We don't say I want a 15 ohm light bulb or a 3 amp light bulb. We want a light bulb that has watts, right? 60 watts. So power is the rate energy is consumed. Now, this is their wording in the question. It's wrong. It's not the rate that energy is consumed, it's the amount of energy is consumed. Okay? If someone says I have a 60 watt light bulb, it consumes 60 watts. Now, it consumes it every minute, every hour, every day, as long as you have it on, but it's energy. Okay? So the basic unit of energy is called the watt, and there's a new formula. Now you take the voltage and the current, you multiply them together, and this gives you the power. So here's our little PID chart, same thing. And so they say if I have 13.8 volts, right, 10 amps, I get 138 watts. So here's voltage, here's resistance, here's current, and now I can figure out how much power is where? In this thing here. How much power is being consumed in the resistor? How much power is being consumed in the light bulb? Okay. Let's see, 120 volts, put that there, times 1.2 amps, and I'll get 300 watts. And then one question says, well, if I know P and E, what's I? Well, P is 120 divided by 12, it's 10 amps. So, a bunch of easy questions for you. You see, they're all coming from the same section. Hey, that's great. That's 2 sections. We're going to get through the third one quick, and we're going to try to get the part of the fourth part. Okay, what this is going to be is going to be a bunch of schematics. Now, a schematic is a bunch of symbols of a circuit, okay? And what they're going to have you do is say, what is that symbol? So this is going to be a question of memorizing symbols. So that's all it is. Now, when they give you a figure, that means the test will have to have a chart that you're going to reference. You're going to go over there and say, okay, yeah, figure 3. Okay. So let's just take a look at that. Electrical wiring diagrams, which are called schematics, have symbols that represent various electrical and electronic components. Okay. And again, everything in parentheses is my words, not their words. Okay. Schematic diagrams represent how the components are interconnected. Yep, that's right. So it says in T3, figure T3, what's component 3? Well, component 3, right there. First, we know it's an inductor, number 1. And second, it's got an arrow on it, so it's a variable inductor. Remember that? Any symbol with an arrow on it is a variable, whatever that symbol is. Let's see, what's component 4? Component 4, that's an antenna. Okay? So, right here, that's all they want to know. We're going to get to the other ones here. Let me just go back and tell you some more about it. These are capacitors, but they have arrows through them, so they're variable capacitors. But we haven't had a question about it yet, so we don't worry about it. Okay, it says figure 1. Okay, here's figure 1. Component 1, okay, that's a resistor. Very straightforward. Component 2, oh, guess what? Transistor. Yeah. Transistor will control the flow of current. Yeah. I put a little signal in here and it controls the flow of current through here. Very good. Component 3 is a lamp. So what I'm doing here is I'm probably doing something that turns the lamp on or off. Okay. Component 4, battery. Okay, so there's the power. The lamp doesn't come on until I put a signal here that makes this a short circuit, and then the lamp comes on. If I don't put a signal here, there's nothing here until the lamps are shut off. There's that one. And here's a more complicated figure. And again, notice these are all coming from the same section, so only one of these is going to wind up in your clip on your test. So it says component 3, right there, is a switch. Now, they gave it a name, single pole, single throw. Why is that? Well, there's only one input, that's a pole, and it's either on or off, that's the throw. Okay, because some switches go from here to here to here. That'd be multiple throws, like 3 throws. And some switches have 2 signals coming in and 2 signals being switched. That could be a double pole. But this one here is single, single, so I can remember. Number 4, oh, number 4, looks like 2 coils, but it's got these 2 lines in between. So it's a transformer. Okay, so I have 110 volts AC here, and I'm going to have some DC over here probably. Number 6, right there, capacitor. Okay. Now don't confuse capacitors with batteries. Capacitor has the straight line, the little curved line, and the battery has a long straight line and a short straight line. So don't confuse those 2. Component 8. Okay. This looks like a diode, but it's got these funny little lines here. So just memorize this. It's an LED, a light emitting diode. So when you put a little voltage on here, it lights up. It's an LED. Number 9, well, let's see, it's a resistor with an arrow, so it's a variable resistor. Okay, got it? And if you want to know some of the other ones, that's a diode, that's a fuse, that's the AC plug that plugs in the wall, and that's just a regular diode. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, there's only one question here. Years and years and years ago, if you wanted to measure AC voltage, you bought a voltmeter. If you wanted to measure DC voltage, you bought a DC voltmeter. If you wanted to measure AC current, you bought an AC current ammeter. DC current, you measured a DC ammeter. And if you wanted to measure ohms, you bought an ohm meter. But now, these days, you can buy one meter that does them all. You just switch to what you want. Okay? So this is called a multimeter. So today, multimeters can be used to measure all of the above. And this question says that only voltage and resistance measurements are commonly made with multimeters. Well, that's true, are commonly made. Because if I want to measure voltage, what do? All I've got to do is just take and put this on the voltage source. If I want to measure resistance, what do? I just take this and I just put the resistor across here and I measure resistance. See, easy, right? But if I want to measure current, I have to somehow undo the circuit, put this meter in series with the circuit. So that's not what I typically do. So commonly voltage and resistance, but technically you can do all 5. Okay, there's the multimeter again. Now, since we're measuring circuit resistance, okay, make sure that the circuit is not powered up. So if I'm measuring, say, the resistance here on this resistor, this is no problem. I'm holding it in my hand and I can measure the resistance on how many ohms this is. But if this was in a circuit, and I went and put this in here, and the voltage was on the circuit, the voltage could kill my meter, because my meter is in ohms. It's in the resistance mode, not the voltage mode. So when I'm measuring resistance on something in a circuit, I better have that power supply shut off. That circuit should be shut off. That's what that's about. Okay? Another way to damage the meter would be trying to measure voltage when the meter is in resistance setting. So here I am. I'm in the resistance setting down here. I'm sorry. I want to measure voltage. Okay, so I got a set of voltage, but I forgot to change it from resistance. Yeah, I'm going to measure voltage, but I forgot to go like this. So when I put the voltage across the resistance thing, it kills the meter. Okay, so that's not good. It says if you're ever measuring resistance in a circuit and the initial resistance is low, but then slowly increases, there's probably a large capacitor in the circuit. Probably a large capacitor somewhere in that circuit, because capacitors hold the charge. So I can turn the power supply off to go measure resistance, but this thing here has some voltage on it, and it takes a few seconds for the voltage to go away, and that will make it look like the resistance is changing, and that's what they're saying. Okay. Miscellaneous. Okay, they're talking about inductors and capacitors. Let's get that big capacitor over here. I lost it. There it is. It says when I have inductors and capacitors together in a circuit, it becomes a tuned circuit. What does that mean? Well, when these are hooked together, like that, in a circuit, they create a frequency. That's how one way that frequencies are created. So, because when I have them in a circuit, it becomes a tuned circuit, which means that a frequency can be created. Good news, bad news. Maybe you want to create the frequency, maybe you don't. So it's just a point of interest. A relay, and I don't have a relay here, is a switch controlled by electronic magnet, right? So I can have a relay, which looks like a switch, got a little magnet here. And so when I press a button over here, voltage comes over, and the relay goes click, like a switch. When I take the voltage off, click, goes back the other way. So a relay is really a switch that I don't have to physically be there. I can control it from somewhere else. Okay? Let's see. Okay. Many amateur radios have a meter that indicates numerical strength in the signal being received. Okay, this is a separate issue. And